Hello students. So today we'll discuss about the hormones and the classification of hormones. So let's talk about the chemical classification of hormones. Chemical classification of hormones. That means according to their chemical nature, how hormones are classified. Students, this is very important to understand the chemistry of the hormones because action of the hormones depends on its chemical nature. Okay. So what is the chemical classification of hormone? First of all, the hormones are of different types according to chemistry. So the number one is known as hormones are called proteins. It's very important. Many hormones are, most of the hormones are chemically protein in nature. So what are protein hormones? Protein hormones are those hormones which consist of amino acids, and they're linked by peptide bonds. So protein hormones are further classified in some types, like protein hormones are proteinaceous hormones. They are proteinaceous hormones. Okay, proteinaceous hormones. The examples are, most of the hormones in our body are proteinaceous. The examples are the hormone called GH, the hormone called TSH, hormones like ACTH. These hormones are called proteinaceous hormones, peptide hormones. The second classification is, or the second type in the protein hormones are, they are called as long peptide hormones. That means the hormones which consist of long chain of peptides or long chain of amino acids. So what are these long peptide hormones? They consist of around 200 to 300 amino acids. They consist of long chain of amino acids. Here we can write some examples. Like suppose there is an example called there is prolactin. Prolactin is one of the example of long peptide hormone which consists of around 198 amino acids. That's prolactin. One more example here is a growth hormone which consists of around 191 amino acids. Your best example is again what? Insulin. These hormones are called as long peptide hormones which consist of long chain of amino acids. There are some hormones, they are also called short peptide hormones. They are called short peptide hormones. That means they consist of short peptide chain. So what are the examples of these short peptide hormones? The shortest peptide hormones are two, and they are called as ADH and oxytocin. ADH and oxytocin. Each consists of around 9 amino acids. 9 amino acids. So these are called. If they're asking you which of the following is the shortest hormone, your answer is going to be ADH or oxytocin. So this is the chemical classification. That means hormones are chemically proteins. They are proteinaceous hormones. GH, TSH and ACTH, they are made of proteins. Further, you can divide these proteinaceous hormones into one more type. It is known as glycoproteins. The hormones which consist of, yes, glycoproteins, the hormones which consist of long chain of peptides along with the side chain of carbohydrates, they are called glycoproteins. The best examples are FSH and LH. The follicle stimulating hormone and luteinizing hormones are chemically called glycoproteins. Students, this is very important to understand the chemistry because the mechanism of action of the hormones depends on the chemistry of the hormones. Okay, so the first classification is hormones are chemically proteins. I'm repeating again. Some hormones are proteinaceous hormones. Some hormones are long peptide hormones. They are prolactin, growth hormones, and insulin. Some hormones are short peptide hormones like ADH and oxytocin. And even some hormones are, yes, combined proteins like glycoproteins. They are FSH and LH. So this is the first classification. Hormones are also classified as, according to their chemical nature, hormones are also classified as steroids. Okay, hormones are also classified as steroids. That means the hormones which are derivatives of cholesterols, and they consist of sterols in their structure. Such hormones are called as steroids. Again, the mechanism of action is very different. When we talk about peptide hormones, their action is different, and the steroids, the action is again different. So steroid hormones are those hormones which are derivatives of cholesterol, and they consist of sterols in their structure. So what are different examples? The sex hormones, yes, the progesterone, you can see estrogen, then progesterone, then testosterone. These are the examples of steroids that derive from cholesterol. Not only that, the hormones of adrenal cortex. Yes, the hormones of adrenal cortex. These hormones are like cortisol, aldosterone. This is cortisol, aldosterone, okay, cortisone. So these hormones, cortisone, these hormones are also chemically steroids. They are simply called as glucocorticosteroids and mineralocorticosteroids. There are hormones. There's one hormone you studied in last year, excretion and elimination of waste product. The hormone is called calcitriol. The calcitriol is also chemically steroid. You studied in the last chapter, excretion and elimination of the waste product. Okay, so that particular calcitriol hormone, which is secreted by kidney and which is responsible for activation of vitamin D, that hormone is also chemically steroid. So some hormones are proteins. The proteins are proteinaceous hormones. Proteins are short peptide, long peptides, and glycoproteins. Similarly, some hormones are steroids. They are derivatives of cholesterol. They consist of sterols. Sex hormones are chemically steroids. Hormones of adrenal cortex are chemically steroids, and hormones like calcitriols are also steroids. No doubt, the further classification is hormones are also classified as, okay, hormones are also classified as amines or catecholamines. They are also classified as amines or catecholamines. So there are some hormones that are derivatives of amines. Say for an example, what are different examples of amines? So the hormones, from adrenal medulla, hormones are called adrenaline and noradrenaline are chemically steroids. These hormones are derived from, yes, these hormones are chemically amines, or these hormones are chemically amines. Okay? Now, there are hormones like, you see, serotonin and melatonin. Serotonin and melatonin. These hormones are also chemically amines. Serotonin and melatonin, these are the two very interesting hormones and produced by pineal gland. Okay, they're produced by pineal gland. Serotonin and melatonin are derivatives of tryptophan, amino acid tryptophan. One more example is there, T3 and T4. You better know, triiodothyronine and tetraiodothyronine. That means it is also called thyroxine. These are also the derivatives of amines, and this T3 and T4 are derivatives of amino acid tyrosine. Derivatives of amino acid tyrosine. These hormones are chemically amines. There are some substances, there are some hormones like dopamine. Okay, we are going to discuss in the next chapter. Then histamine. These hormones are also derivatives of amines. Okay, so that means hormones are proteins, hormones are steroids, hormones are amines also. There are some hormones. The amine hormones are hormones of, you can say, adrenal gland, that is adrenaline and noradrenaline, that are also the derivatives of amino acid tyrosine. Then serotonin and melatonin, derivatives of tryptophan. There is T3 and T4, derivatives of amino acid tyrosine. Substances like dopamine and histamine, they are also derivatives of amines or catecholamines. Okay, now the next classification is, there are some hormones, we are going to talk in the reproductive system also, and in many controls they are called as ecosonoids. These hormones are like, the example I am writing is prostaglandins. These hormones are derivatives of fatty acids. The derivatives of fatty acids. So this is the classification of hormones. So I am revising again. There are four types according to the chemical nature. The type number one is hormones are proteins, hormones are steroids, hormones can be, yes, hormones are proteins, yes, hormones are proteins. In proteins, hormones are proteinaceous, hormones are short peptide, hormones are long peptides, and hormones are glycoproteins. In the second case, hormones are also classified as steroids, right? Hormones are also classified as amines, and hormones are also classified as ecosonoids. Okay, they are also classified as ecosonoids. So this is the classification of hormones. In the next lecture, we are going to study now the different definitions of the hormones, like what are trophic hormones, what are local hormones, what are pheromones, what are phytohormones. These concepts we will clear in the next lecture, and then we will move further in the next topic called hypothalamus and different endocrine glands of the body. Thank you very much.